BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and I have a question for you. What if we decided to have Beyblade Burst have another World League tournament, but this time featuring all 64 bladers from across all 7 series? Well, at least the 64 bladers were their own unique Beyblades. So yeah, this video is going to be about trying to make that happen with some additional people who may have not had their own unique Beyblades. Unfortunately, you guys are going to hate me for this because even I'm not sure these choices make sense now that I'm done. But if I don't get this video out tonight, I'm going to flip because while I've only been accused of rage baiting 2 times, usually whenever I have a thought and assesses in my mind for a little bit as I finish the script, I usually go, yeah, I expect some people to disagree, but I think we can all understand where I'm coming from with a video. No reason for me to ever want to rage bait someone, much less my own followers. So because I am so unsure about this, I generally want your guys' feedback on these choices. So basically, here's what's going to happen. The World League was a bit unstructured since we only knew about the top 4 properly, so I wrote down a list of all 64 bladers with their own unique Beyblades in the anime and split them up into almost 16 teams. And while I'm going to let you guys decide on the bracket if you don't completely hate my choices, basically each team is expected to have about 4 to 5 members per group, and if I couldn't fit someone who has a unique Beyblade, I decided to pick someone who is at least an established blader. Now, I did pick some bladers and teams of people you're probably going to laugh at me for or call me a complete idiot for coming up with a reason why they would join a certain group of other characters. But I tried to have some rationale when I came up with this. So please give me mercy in the comment section below and let's get started. First up, we're going with BC Soul with Vault. And yeah, he's obvious. I know people would have wanted Voma as a team for this. But I feel like I can save the Academy Bay Club for another group. And BC Soul has been more of his main team for 6 out of 7 seasons. Plus, there's Free, who started off as a leader, but now with Vault, he's basically like the second in command. Then there's Cisco, easily a fan favorite and got to be a legendary blader choice. Afterwards is Kuza, and I know he's a strange choice because he wasn't on the team in the manga, but the anime basically had him be like one of the main characters. And if you think about what characters exclusively go to your head when you think of Season 2, he's kind of the one that you pick. And finally, there's Sasha. Look, I'll talk about Rentaro later, trust me. But I was thinking about Sasha's role during the World League, and she really only had like 1 fight. And Rickson was not only able to fight Stan in 1, but in the final battle, it was literally every other member of the team getting ready to fight except for her. Which was a little weird looking back on it, and since every fanfic tends to give Sasha her own unique Beyblade, I'm kind of in a position to just do the same or give her a Gaia Dynamite battle upgrade. Next up, we got SB Rios, which I'm going to combine with Sword Flames to be called Sword Brazil Frames, with Shaka, Renru, Quan, Yukio, and Yugo. Basically, we're combining SB Rios with Sword Flames, all of whom Shaka either has a strong friendship with or has worked with throughout his first 2 seasons. Now, I hear some of you are questioning Shaka, but I will also get back to him in a future part of this video when it comes to his protege Sean. Also, just assume everyone got stronger to the point where even if they're not as strong as their leader, they're still pretty capable on their own. Then we're going with AES Gallus, which was originally called just Paris Bladers in the original. And Gallus is apparently Scottish slang for bold, daring, cheeky, or stylish, which I guess kind of fits most of the members of the team. The first one is obviously Dinah, who was leader of this team, and he showed some pretty good growth and came close to beating Joshua. Plus, he made it to the top 4 of a world tournament, so of course we're going to give his team and him a second shot. And we're also keeping Silo. I don't know what the fanbase thinks about him, but I think he's funny and charming. Next up is a member that should have been on this team, Kensuke. The toy line had Guardian Kerbeus come out in August, and while that was a month after BC Soul and Dinah's team fought, episodes 23 through 35 had the finals and introduced Silo on the team, so there's definitely room for Kensuke to join up at least, or introduce him earlier since they've had characters use blades before it came out in the toy line. It feels like if Dinah needed another member of Voma to join him, Kensuke would be a great fit. Hell, he has Guardian Kerbeus in the manga. Though speaking of people, let's include Jin on the team. The team has a fair number of oddballs, and Dinah at least managed to see he was a good person, and in the manga, we know he tried to apply for BC Soul. So if we can't find a team for him, I say let's just have him join this one. And this may come as a surprise, but I'm including Count Nightfall on this team. Yeah, this is a French team, and I noticed there's not that many people or bladers that have any ties or association or even color scheme with Paris. And he's the only one whose at least outfit fits the description. He is a phantom thief, but since no one knows his identity and he can come in a sort with different Beyblades, I don't necessarily think this would be too much of a problem because it's not like people are going to be coming after him in the middle of a tournament. And considering we have a vampire cosplayer, I feel like he fits this team. Anyway, if I haven't lost you all, I'm going to lose you all in the next one. So let's talk about the final team that made it to the World League Top 4. Alright, let's talk about the New York Raging Bulls. First off, we need the owner's shoe because last time he didn't get a chance to compete in the World League. So this time, let's just have that. Next up is Joshua. Look, I know he's divisive, but he made for a pretty fun antagonist with a hard-to-beat gimmick. And there's a few characters I know people want to see him fight, which is why I'm not putting the other person everyone wants him to fight on the same team as him. Then I'm including Lane. He mentored under Shu, and we still see him working under him in the manga after the event is sparking. On a team tournament, he's probably not going to have as many easy win conditions. And speaking of people fans felt like they were robbed of having this character return as another Shu protege, I put Fubuki on his team. Yeah, you guys seem to like him. I like him. He became a fan favorite for a lot of reasons, and he trained in Raging Bulls so kind of makes sense to have both of Shu's proteges on the same team. But I'm going to throw you a curveball for the last pick. Pax. Yeah, everyone saw him as someone with a lot of potential, but he broke his arm before the tournament could commence. And now that his arm is back to normal, I could see Shu recruiting him to help him live out his potential, especially given that he understands elemental power the best, since it's a form of resonance that allows the user to wield different special abilities without having a gimmick pre-installed. Speaking of which, let's talk about Royals. This team was weird because we only had Gasm, and I'm shifting Arthur Lawrence to more of a Bay manager. Because when you hear a team like Royals, I'm thinking of people who are either popular, fancy, or seen as having high status. So we're keeping Mr. Muay Thai and repairing his blade. So let's talk about the other character that should have been in the World League but wasn't, Zach. And it's not because him and Arthur have the same English voice actor. It's that Zach has always had been able to see the potential in people where others haven't. And I would not only want to use it as a good opportunity for us to finally let him use Galaxy Zeus in the anime since they never gave it to him, he's also a good motivator and can help out the others when it comes to training. And with Zach on the team, we can include members he's also close to, like Orochi, because he's strong but just loses to the top bladers. And why wouldn't you try to have someone who can anticipate when a burst is coming due to just the sound of their own ears? Akira proved that he has a lot of talent, so I'm picking him. And I think I'm going to pick Blind. His outfit and flair for the artistic dramatics just gives off royal status. And he kind of fits the theme with everyone being skilled at a certain art or passion, given that half the people here are chosen good with music and the other half is at least decent in martial arts. Plus, having someone with a form of turbo would necessarily help since he's not a bad person. It's just that he resonates more with dark emotions, which, considering we have someone who lost their father, yeah, I think that would be a good fit for the team. Next up, we're going with Victories, and I don't think like most of these options are debatable. Like Drum, Amane, and Delta were the WBBA's reps in defeating Hella's Victories, and Gwyn was a member before he left, and since he's a legendary blader, he probably doesn't want to associate with Arthur anymore, so why Fumiya? I mean, I feel like if it was 4 bladers that was Victories versus Hell, he would have been chosen since he's the closest one to the trio in the first place, and he did soften up on the trio over time, and he did train with them in the final episode, so I feel like he would be a good fit, which I hope might be the most least controversial team I make on this video. But we're not ignoring Sunbat United. For team number 7, no, I'm not putting a picture of Naruto on screen. Yeah, I feel like we need to include Wakia somehow, because if I didn't, I would get a bunch of angry comments, and I mean, he did Blade in Season 5, so he's clearly still got it. Next up is Hoji, who I'm still surprised wasn't invited to Sunbat United, and I'm including a surprise pick for some of you guys, Naoki. Personally, I've always liked the concept of a strategic blader who would manipulate the cast off the field while also being pretty strategic in battle, but just needed more screen time and focus and at least be an arc villain. And he does have the arrogance and sympathy to fit the members of the team, but I kind of ran out of unique blader, so we're keeping Ataru since he and Aoki would work well, and Django because Django is the only other blade from the team besides Wakia you all can remember. Well, besides Ataru. Next up is the team I'm calling Voma Upstarts, featuring Rantaro, Tokonatsu, Nika, Laban, and Boa. And this one I'm going to have to justify. Okay, you know how in Season 5, Rantaro left BC Soul to train the Azashi brothers and the Bombers? Well, let's just say there's a new team of potential talented bladers and they need his experience, so let's do that. Okay, so for Tokonatsu, I needed to include more members, and I just considered making him a team leader featuring other bladers from the season when he became a unique blader, such as Aiga, Suo, Fubuki, and Renjiro. But that kind of fell flat in my head after 1, I remembered I put Fubuki with Shu. 2, every other member either turned down the option to lead or join the team, or 3, they left the team in its entirety, and he became the leader. So while having a coach slash reliable ally in Rentaro is great, Tokonatsu will still need some people to, for him to lead. So I figured let's just give Nika Ambush Nidhogg. The N and the names fit, and most people found it weird she went from blading from season 1 to just being a manager of season 3. So we can finally see what she can do on the field now that she's older. And just because Hasbro's Beyblades are divisive did not stop the anime team from giving Ilya battles with a Hasbro Blade. As for Boa, well, he did get a bunch of followers after the tournament in America, but the reason I didn't put him with Shu's team is because he kind of doesn't like Shu, especially after what happened in the snake pit and the reveal. So I kind of figured if I'm talking about a team of upstarts or people who have that potential, I could see Tokonatsu recruiting him to join the team. So where does LeBron fit? Well, he's a fortune teller, and hey, if he predicts that them entering the tournament would give them an opportunity for more growth and is willing to help them out as a member of Z4, who's pretty strong, then why not? You know, halfway through this video, I just realized I'm making Beyblade Burst King of Fighters. Why do I do this to myself? For team number 9, I'm calling Sparking Stars, and we're going with Hikaru, Hyuga, Aiga, and Ranjiro. And yeah, it's a combination of the main duo from Season 3 and the main duo from Season 5. Hikaru's an Aiga fan and wanted to team up with him. Heck, I believe they did in Sparking when they beat Lane. And those 4 got along pretty well. Really, I had issues coming up with a 5th person, but considering how well both teams did in the tag league, I feel like they would make a pretty good 4-person team without the need of a 5th person. For Team 10, it's every day, bro. It's every day. Nah, I'm kidding. This is the one I know people are going to get angry at because I automatically knew when I made this video, there's a high chance someone was going to ask if I was either going to put Louie on a team or just make him a solo entry. And while he probably would go solo, we have seen after Season 4 he is willing to be a team player. So I picked 2 people that he is definitely capable of either respecting or working with in Gao, since Gabe was the actual lead of Rideout, and Louie respected Tsuo's input and potential, and both are seen as pretty powerful monsters in battle. But I also decided to add Kurt. See, part of Louie's backstory is that he was jaded before coming to America, and we could probably assume that was from some of the harsh battles that have shaped his personality. And who's to say him and Kurt didn't battle, since both of them are pretty known for being strong champion level bladers. So if Louie needed someone not named Drum to be a fellow menace on the battlefield, I feel Kurt would do a pretty good job with him on a team with Louie. For Team 11, I decided to call this team Gentle Arts, who are all comprising of people who are skilled at a unique field. We've got Hoei for archery, Pot for martial arts, Sean for swordsmanship, and also martial arts, Joe for gambling, and Loden for being a decathlon athlete who doesn't need hyperflux, he just hyperflexes. I know it seems like a weird assortment of characters, but I don't feel like these guys wouldn't get along. I mean, Hoei and John are athletic sweethearts, Joe just likes betting, Pot likes pranks, and Loden's just a hard worker. This is the team where you look at everyone and go, would they work together? And then quickly realize, oh yeah, they probably could work together. For Team 12, which you can basically call Team Villains, I'm basically calling them Infernal Destruction, because since they changed their name from Hell, I feel like a team with Arthur would be a pretty solid team. After all, Arthur is like the first main antagonist I could really call evil, since everyone else except for him was either just sociopathic at blading, while he actually had a master plan to take over the WBBA and change the sport for the worse. But that behavior probably wouldn't necessarily get a lot of people willing to work with him. But then I remembered Season 3 had Fi and Hearts, who we did see sort of reconcile with towards the end, and both of them are chaotic enough to let anyone work with them, so they're a good fit to join Arthur. Kyle doesn't really have anywhere to go other than Dread Tower or Dead Tower, since all of his research was ultimately for them or Evo. And Evo has worked with both brothers and was intrigued by the opportunity of evolving Dead Hades and Dead Phoenix, Revive Phoenix into one. Especially since with Arthur working with Fi and Hearts, it would give him an opportunity to teach them how to use Dark Turbo instead of them relying on the Dark Resonance, which could hurt them emotionally. So I feel like if we're having the team that's known for having the most antagonistic people, this is a good team. For a team number 13, I'm basically combining the English and Japanese names for this team, and we're calling them Center Nexus, or Nexus Center. Tell me which one sounds better. Which consists of Rashad, Basara, Ilya, and for a surprise, Kit. Yeah, the first 3 options are pretty obvious. This was a team that they formed when Bell challenged them with Ronzo and Vault had joined them, and that trio became official after the High King won the tournament. And while Basara temporarily left, Quadstrike confirmed they're still an official team of newcomers, but we're adding Kit to this team because it's not just because I want to make sure that every team didn't just have less than 4 members, but Season 7 introduced the concept that Kit needed to grow out of Vault Shadow if he wanted to eventually surpass him. And 2 out of 3 members on this team were not only former members of BC Soul, but Rashad was also a protege of Vault, and now that Rashad chilled the hell out, I could see Kit working with them in order to them to secure this title of victory, while also proving that thanks to Vault's influence, they are who they are now, but they can evolve past that and evolve to even beat him eventually. And finally, for team number 14, the Dark Specters. Bell, Ranzo, Pre, and Phenomenal Pain. Okay, so I just really wanted to originally make a Dynamite Battle team consisting of at least 5 to 6 of the new generation members, which was originally going to be Bell, Ranzo, Rashad, Basara, and Ilya. And then Quadstrike kind of just made Bell, Ranzo, and Pre to be the new power trio. And we're used to seeing these 3 be able to work together when they're not being manipulated into hating each other or being petty. And I feel like Pain isn't necessarily hated, but most people just wish he had more screen time or debuted earlier. And he and Bell were able to get along, or at least have a mutual level of respect towards one another, especially since Bell's fights were the thing that got Pain back into blading. So if Bell actually needed one more teammate, well, there you go. Well, that's 14 teams. Wait, I said I needed 16 teams, didn't I? Wait, who did I forget? Oh yeah, let's use Norman. He was basically used as a tool by Ashton and Red Eye, so him recruiting Richard Yellow, Azure Eye, Grey Eye, and Violet Eye as a new team called Snake Shadows, using their replica blade to their maximum potential and try to dominate the league. Actually, it kind of fits well, especially since they kind of got neglected and forgotten after they were either kicked out or Ashton just kind of abandoned them, which, yeah, even Norman kind of didn't deserve that. Wait, so I need one more team. Fine, BC Galleon. They beat BC Soul only to lose to Dyna's team, and we kind of need a jobber team in here. So, yeah. Look, you know what? I know this video is not going to get well received. Nothing I said make any sense, so in the comments, tell me what you would do if you had access to all 64 bladers in a writing room and decided to make a team tournament, and figure out exactly where you would place the characters if you had to make up your own teams. Or if you're crazy enough to think that my ideas actually make sense, which of these teams that I made would you like to see either battle each other, or how would you organize a 16-team bracket so we would have at least 8 teams going head-to-head against each other in the beginning, then the top 8 fight each other in the... What comes before quarterfinals again? Then the quarterfinals, then the semifinals, and then finals. Up to you. I'm going to record this as fast as I possibly can so that I can edit it. Thanks for watching and putting up with my nonsense once again. Also, tell me, did you know that there was actually a grand total of 64 bladers and bursts? I'm not sure if that's the highest record, though it's still pretty impressive, because I didn't count Sasha and Django and a few others as the 64. But even if you don't, that's still a pretty high number, because there's way too many extras in burst to even consider. That, and I do feel like because they lack their own unique combo, thanks to a few more later seasons after the original, Metal, Burst, and X all have characters in the background or supporting that do have their own Beyblades, but since they're not unique, we don't really get to care or notice about them that much. But the fact that even some people like Django has a special move and that people desperately want to give Sasha, Ichika, and other characters more to do, it does make me want to ask you guys, like, would you include like some of the minor characters that were on teams that weren't necessarily like part of like the main group of the unique bladers? Because that was a tricky subject I wanted to talk about during this video, which is why I ended up including some, since a lot of people like Sasha, I know Stan, Django, and Ivan were like a huge part of like, you know, Vault and Rentaro being accepted with the rest of BC Soul. Try to, though, semantics, because there were some changes in the anime that expanded upon this, while the manga kind of kept everyone in the same group. Though I do want to hear everyone's opinions on that. Again, this wasn't the video I originally had planned for today, but the more I kept thinking about it, the more I was like, okay, this idea may be bad, but I need to see what you guys think of it, because I want to at least find out from you guys. But thanks for watching and putting up with my nonsense once again. And VIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.